Hey there, everybody. My name is Kate, and welcome to my channel, Trinergy Awakens Naturally. Oh, I so want to say a few things. That I made a video not too long ago when I was on my way to another part of Colorado. I travel around to deal with what's happening in my own personal life and assume that if it's happening to me, it's happening to a collective of people that might be able to associate on some level. So I like to share my experiences because the level of the devil is whatever the nastiness is that's showing up for us, to us, with us, around us, against us, etc. So here's the deal that, I'm not sure that people who are working in dark or in nasty places or in just hateful, horrible, experiences of life, they're entitled to do their lives any way they want to, miserably, etc., addicted to their own pain and addicted to their own, way of avoiding what needs to be done to clean up the lifestyle and, move through in a kinder, gentler way. I'm not the police of, morality and people's spirituality and their growth or non-growth or whatever. And it's really, becomes quite complicated when people don't quite understand that we're into two totally separate ideas and ideologies, and one of us is in the matrix deep and one of us is not, and I really don't care about a lot of what would bother excuse me, the average person who's trying to tweak, their, whatever their story is and their paradigm. It's the old paradigm, and if we're not playing in the old paradigm, then we don't really have much in common, and we don't have any way to compete or compare because we're not in the same place doing the same thing. If I'm not in the Hunger Games with you, how are you going to try to drag me to the Hunger Games? I don't want to do that. I won those already, and I'm certainly not going to be enlisted, nor am I signing up, to go and play them again voluntarily. And if I do, here's how we work through the bugaboo situation: that when someone energetically or even out here in 3D is calling me to the Hunger Games experience, here's how this works: is that if we're wise in our spiritual hygiene and in our commitment to not be in that whole ego battle and struggle with ourselves or other people, then we learn as we go. We AI that crap and learn by having been in those places already, and learn our opponent very well, so that it takes very little effort to defeat that crap and release it and let it go. Mostly this is energetically. I don't engage with people physically on any level. If they're, a devil type, then I just dismiss it and just keep on moving, so I don't have a whole lot of physical engagement or actual 3D engagement with people. However, people are knee deep in their denial and their, hostilities, their rage, and their just unhealed garbage that they don't know what to do with. Well, it's not my garbage to take out, and you can't do that here, no matter what we used to do, or no matter what it used to look like, no matter what the earth used to look like. The old paradigm's the old paradigm, and, I cannot take someone else's something and do it with them or for them. That is the old paradigm of codependency on every level, and especially spiritually. People that know how to alchemize and move their energy in a different way understand their emotional regulation, and they're not dysregulated to the point that they're spewing and spitting and snarking and trying to, exact revenge, or trying to get other people to take on their pain that they don't even know they have. If someone is spewing and spitting, that's about pain. And if I get engaged with it, that's about my pain. However, if I observe the pain that someone's trying to discharge or disperse my direction, I need to be able to identify it and then do something with it besides engage it. Because bing, boom, I've just been enlisted into the Hunger Games. And how many times do I want to play that game before I figure it out? So the idea is learn the opponent. And, in real time, real earth ops, we're not dealing with people from District 1 and 2 exclusively. District 1 and 2 are the ones that are born and bred for that crap. They're, supposed to win. They're geared to win. It's fixed to win, and it's just a gross game, of dogfighting, or, whatever brutal sport of combat that humans like to engage in for some reason when they're in that whole angle of violence and, all that just shitty energy is really fun to watch, you know, on whatever level that we're doing it. And we're all a part of this operation here on Earth. However, we're not all playing the Hunger Games, and we don't all enjoy those kind of combat sports. And if we ever were in them, you know, the ones of us that got out look back and go, I'm not sure I really enjoyed that. And even if I did, I don't enjoy it now. So it really matters not what it used to be. That's old news, it's old story, and it's old paradigm. And so the best that I can do is look at that and say, well, not everybody's from District 1 and 2. There are some that they're just absolutely born and bred for generations to be predators, and they're, you know, geared to win, and that system is no longer working. It's the old paradigm, and it's being replaced by the new one. So that system where people were, you know, fixed to win by just years and years and years of brutality and manipulation and coercion and codependency and brutality, whatever it was, then is fine. Those are District 1 and 2. Identify those suckers right off the top. However, the rest of the crowd, they're not already entitled to win. No one is. It's an old paradigm that doesn't serve anyone, and it deserves zero time. However, when we're brought to that, or we're working our way out of it, the best way to change our strategy is to know what our old strategy was. If it was just survival, that's not a good one, because most of us don't already know how to win and survive, you know, the Hunger Games well. We just keep kind of halfway existing and halfway living and coping through addictions and codependency and all these terrible ways of not dealing with an old paradigm that isn't meant to be dealt with in a very healthy or copacetic way. There is no way to deal with codependency in any other way except not to do that anymore. That's the old way of living. It's the old, you know, system that would keep us in that codependent position, believing that we have to accept brutality on any level, or manipulation or coercion or whatever it would be to be accepted or not killed. You know, that's some bullshit, and it's no longer relevant. So the best way to get really skilled in the game, you know, if we're going to have to do it, is to observe it, look at it, learn your opponent, learn what it is, so that when it comes swinging through and it's ridiculous and doing its thing, if you already know and you've taken the time to look back and think about the strategy and think about what was it that worked, what was it that didn't, where was I, you know, most vulnerable in that? Where was I strongest in that? Where was my point of entry that someone could tap my vulnerability and successfully motor me or manipulate me or bully me or thieve from me or harm me or cause me some injury on any level? Where was that devil? Where was that point of entry that was so vulnerable that allowed that in? And that's a lot of deep work, that when we do it from this way and we understand our vulnerable points, then when something taps us again and brings up that vulnerability, then we go right to that vulnerability, hop in and go AI with it and learn from it, friend. You don't just get to the vulnerability and go, I can't believe they did that, you know, or if you do, you don't stick around there long. You learn the level of the new devil, that it gained entry there, how and why, and then lock that into, oh, that's part of that opponent's strategy, is to dig in right there and try to find that vulnerable point, so that the next time it comes, you can laugh about it and go, whatever, dude, you know, but learn your opponent, learn that. AI, you know, is about learning its own self and being able to get more knowledgeable and smarter within its own operating system. It's a little creepy in the, you know, 3D world. It is a little bit creepy. However, if you apply it to ourselves in that respect, that learn your opponent, because the strategy of survival, that's not a strategy. That's just survival. I mean, it's the, if it's going to be considered a strategy, it's the least effective and has the least effective odds for, or the least pleasant odds for, whether we're going to make it out of the Hunger Games or not, or if we're just going to, you know, bumble along halfway living every day, and boom, cannons are sounding, and okay, I just sold that part of my soul, boom, I just sold that part of my soul. And we know on some level, whether we're conscious of it or not, out here in 3D, we know when we're selling ourselves. We know that already. We're not incapable. There is no human being, no matter how awful their behavior may be, whether they're from District 1 or 2 or from District 12 or, you know, 13's on the way. It doesn't matter. Every single human being has the ability to decide differently and to look in their own vulnerability to see why they want to be playing the Hunger Games in the first place, or if they even notice that they are. And if they enjoy that stuff, they're least likely District 1 and 2 is not likely to give up their position of perceived power anytime soon, which is why it's very important, extremely important, to get a hold of those District 1 and 2 opponents in our lives, that when they show up, learn that, and get very comfortable with looking at the, stuff that's unpleasant of how it is that people show up being wrong and righteous and all kinds of stuff, and, hella misinformed about how we're going forward with this. This is not how the Earth's new paradigm and new Earth is working, where we're going to, embrace every single person's journey, including slaughter of someone else. It's what we've been doing. However, clearly, there's enough people that are very tired of losing to the District 1 and 2 and to the whole games in general. So learn who the opponent is, and then learn who you are. If you're not Katniss, why not? And if you don't know how to be Katniss, that's where we can go inside and start with those vulnerabilities. Where am I weakest? What am I weakest in? She was very strong in archery, so they played to that fact that she was strong in archery, and she had already survived being in the poorest district, the most outlying district that there was, and she already had that fighter spirit in her, because she was willing to go, instead of sending her sister, or instead of Primrose being put on the chopping block, she was willing to do the work for her sister, because she knew that her sister didn't have what it took then to be able to go on that day. So she already had all the makings. 11/11, she already had all the makings, and she knew enough about herself as a warrior. Whether she defined herself as a warrior at that point or not didn't matter. And then when she got to Hamish worked on her strengths. He didn't ask her to, embody her weaknesses and call that her strategy or her survival skill. She would have been taken out immediately. And he also told her, don't get stuck in dumb places with, the cornucopia, or, the greed and the worry about, well, I won't be able to feed myself later. I won't be able to do this. And start thinking way outside the box, especially when CGI monsters are being thrown in by a game maker who is running this whole system by design. The worst, most evil opponent you have in your world, consider them the game maker, District 1, District 2, District anybody that's trying to destroy you on any level. And then consider that level of the devil is a CGI monster most of the time, because it's a paradigm that's in our head. It's in our programming of what we know on Earth as the old programming. However, that's old programming, and it has nothing to do with New Earth. We're into a brand new understanding, and the Age of Aquarius says we're here to do this in a different way, where I don't kill PETA. I don't have to decide. We're both willing to go out on this just to not do it that old way, rather than me kill him even though he's weakest and I could. I'm not going to, because that's just super hood, and I don't do that. That's a District 1, 2, and any other district or anybody else, but it's not me, that's you. So that's a strength. And using that and knowing that and considering that the righteous path, the truly righteous and truth walking path, is the most powerful path that we can take, and then learn what it is about our opponent or our dark side or whatever it is that we have to understand. Our vulnerability helps us be able to fight the opponent, helps us be able to fight the ugly inside ourselves that we get tapped by somebody else's weird agenda. And if we're actually having to battle out here in 3D constantly, there's a need to reach safety on that. And until we can reach safety and reach a place where we can calm our own mind down, and the hysteria and the anxiety and all of the, dysregulated emotions, we're not going to find that in places where people are actively doing the District 1 and 2 bullshit to keep that going. We need to separate sometimes physically, and I highly advise that we do quickly. As soon as we identify it, if somebody's being hostile and angry and horrible with you, that's a good clue. And it's a good time to immediately shut it down in whatever way that we can. And if you need assistance with that, there's nothing wrong with admitting that we're being victimized in our vulnerability. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. People will tell you that you're weak and, offer up all the shame points and all their bullshit. However, be very clear in understanding that that's about them. And if I need help to disengage from places where I'm literally not safe on any level, or on a specific level, then ask for the help. Start in here, to ask spirit, ask God, ask whomever it is that you yield to help you find the place to go next to get that to happen out here in 3D, because we don't have time to lose any more divine to District 1 and 2. They're divine also. However, if they're playing the Hunger Games, they're not looking to be divine. They're looking to still be back in an old paradigm. And we don't have time to lose more light workers or star seeds or people who are willing to walk in the truth and stand in their divine purpose and their life path with beauty and clarity. We don't have time anymore for anyone to be lost in the undivine. We have time only to stand up those people that are ready and just need a little breath of courage, a little Katniss reminder every once in a while, because every one of us reaches a vulnerable spot in our lives, and sometimes it's just so helpful. Yes, we can well it up from within ourselves eventually. However, sometimes it's just easier and kinder when we can get it from another human being. And so please accept my breath of courage if you're standing somewhere going, what the hell? There's a lot of people that are throwing it around and just being unkind and ugly. And there's also a lot of people that are doing very beautiful things. It's a matter of really emphasizing, seeing, noticing, and empowering those really beautiful things about ourselves and about others, without being codependent on needing to tell everybody or get validation. It's find that balance and just disavow and disallow and disempower any of that nonsense that would ask you to step aside from your own divinity, to not know that you're the Mockingjay, man. You don't have time to play or to not dismantle the games altogether, because no one of us is going to Katniss this. Truly, we're not going to, as one individual source of human energy, completely topple the games altogether. We need the community of people that understand that that's what that is, and that it is going away. It's not like it was my bright idea to come here and dismantle the games. Obviously, there was a movie made about it. There's a bunch of people that understand that on some level in their subconscious, their unconscious, their higher consciousness, wherever it is that it's residing. It's obviously understanding that the paradigm is being torn down actively everywhere. It's how may I assist that by understanding my strengths and my weaknesses, and understanding my opponent and what their strengths and weaknesses too, even if they're already geared to win by being District 1 and 2, and it's a rigged game. You can assume that it's rigged if you're dealing with people from 1 and 2, and if you're not sure, assume that the best that you can do is know your own self, know thine own self, and be true, and be honest about what you see on the other side of you, especially if it's coming at you with some freaky stuff. So there you go. I'm on my way into Red Rock Canyon today to do some more work, and here in Colorado, where the rocks have a lot to say, and the mountains are definitely they're a different kind of energy that brings a different understanding to me every time I get to walk in them. So my dog pooped out. He was a little bit too tired, so I don't have him today, and that's an interesting combination, because generally my dog, one of my familiars, he's with me on these journeys since I got him, and today he's not. So there's some specific reason. I'm gonna go find out what it is, because it definitely has something to do with strengthening me and my vulnerabilities wherever they are. Then let me find them and plug up that hole and continue to grow the spots that my archery skills, and continue to expand my skills of knowledge by opening up the consciousness and the willing to go to that higher consciousness college. So take care of yourselves, whatever part of the day you're in, and may you find beauty within your own skin and get within, because you're divine. It really is totally fine, and a breath of courage from my heart to you. Take care, and I'll talk to you again next time. Bye, friends.